Hey, Michaela.
Yes.
What's your biggest Facebook faux pas? You know, what's the worst thing you've ever done on Facebook?
I don't know that I have one. I did bitch about my stepdaughters once on there.
Are they your friends on Facebook?
Yeah.
Oh.
But I didn't think they'd get the cryptic message, but they did.
Welcome to the Tradies Business Show, helping you get off the tools and into true business ownership, so you can spend more time doing the things that matter most. Now, here are your hosts, Warwick Bidwell and Michaela Clark.
Welcome to the Tradies Business Show, where we're saying inappropriate things about family members on Facebook. You gotta tell us, Michaela, what happened?
I can't even remember now, but like I hold my tongue for years, and then this once I've just gone, you know,
on Facebook.
Yeah,
nice.
Because that's where you do it. And yeah, but the funny story about my husband Duncan, he absolutely hates Facebook. He thinks it's evil reincarnated, and eventually we got him onto it because he can't use a computer or smartphone or anything, so I'd have to do it. But he was like, no, get me on. So he'd only been on it one day, and then someone posted a photo of a crab that he'd caught, which he probably shouldn't have caught.
Oh, no.
And kept, let's say. And
hypothetically speaking.
Yes. And that was the first day, and someone had tagged him in it. You know, and so he's like, nah, get it off. It's, you know, so he lasted a day. Yep. So that was it.
Facebook's bad.
He just doesn't get, so I have to show him all the photos of the grandkids and the kids and everything.
Oh, dear.
Because he's a grandfather.
So it is something that I guess a lot of people struggle with, is they still have this feeling that Facebook is, well, maybe not evil, but kind of question the why of Facebook. You know, why would I be on there? It doesn't work. I've got a business page. You know, 73 of my closest friends and family like it, but it doesn't seem to do anything for me. I've boosted posts. That doesn't do anything for me. And look, if you're not getting results from Facebook, it's kind of like breathing, then you're doing it wrong. So today's guest is something of an expert, actually, when it comes to Facebook campaigns, and has an interesting background. He used to catch bad guys in the police force, and now he catches customers for people. So, yeah.
Could still be bad guys.
Well, yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Some of them could be. It could be like, you know, Duncan. Anyway. Yeah, so good stuff in today's thing. It's a bit techie, I suppose. But look, if you've wondered at all about Facebook, and even if you haven't, you should be, because it really is the best return on investment advertising that is available at the moment. You know, in terms of the bang for buck, the targeting, all the sorts of reasons that you would want to do a marketing strategy, Facebook has it. So today's going to clear a lot of things up for you, I think, and might get to the end of this episode and you'll be sitting there wanting to dive into Facebook ads, which would be awesome. That would be our goal achieved, wouldn't it, Michaela?
Yes, it would. You're getting more leads, growing your business, and that's what our why is.
That's right. And so once you've done that, what you need to do, well, don't wait till you've done your Facebook ads. Go get this thingo now, because it's all about you getting off the tools and into true business ownership. Go to tradiesbusinessshow.com and grab our Get Off the Tools guide. It's a free, like lots of pages, fantastic info, 9 steps to getting you off the tools and literally into true business ownership. So go to tradiesbusinessshow.com, grab the guide, and maybe keep an eye out on Facebook. You might even see some of our ads popping up soon.
And you're going to need this, because your ads are going to be so successful that you're going to be overwhelmed with jobs, and you need to have a team and grow. So this will tell you exactly what you need to do.
That's right.
We think of everything here.
Oh, no, we're pretty smart.
So thanks for joining us today, Phil, and please let us know a little bit of how you got into this world of Facebook ads, which some would think would be the most boring thing in the world, but I think it's what gets you up in the morning, doesn't it?
Hey, thanks for having me, Michaela. And I apologise, I don't normally talk through my nose, but I've got a bit of a head cold at the moment, so I hope that's okay.
No, good, mate.
So it was actually by accident. I spent the early part of my career being a police officer and specialising in intelligence. And one of the things that we got to do in that process was to like analyse drug dealers' telephone bills, and then that led me to develop a little app for myself that actually found like a cheaper bill using the same process, like from all of the plans that were out at the time, and back when they were really expensive. And then a mate heard about it, and then a mate of his, and then a mate of his, and suddenly I'm delivering my software to Optus around Australia, and then Vodafone and all this sort of stuff. So that was a pretty fun ride. Unfortunately, it became the Remington typewriters of businesses. Calls just kept getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, and by the end of it, it was like $25 for all you could eat, and that was the analysis. So I decided to take the family on a bit of a holiday. Had nothing to do. Ran a Facebook group full of 6,500 business owners, and this Facebook post kept popping up all the time about how Facebook ads are a fraud. And there was a little video, and the guy he was 95% correct. He was basically saying that if you target Bangladeshi click farmers, then you're not going to make any money out of them, and that's all Facebook's good for. But what he was talking about was a thing called the boost post, and if you click on that button, then Facebook will basically push it to the people it thinks is going to click on it, which happens to be people who click on things which happens to be Bangladeshi click farmers. And so I analysed this thing, and every time it popped up, I jumped on and said, look, he's right, like, don't target the wrong people. It's not going to make any money, but if you're going to do it the right way, do it this way. And then the post would pop up again and again and again, and in the end I got sick of repeating myself, so I made a little short course and just said, look, just do this, and that went nuts. And then I was saying in my business group about how this Facebook ads seem to be a bit of a thing at the moment, so rather than filling the feed up with my stuff, jump over here, and I made another group just talking about Facebook ads. I think within 24 hours we had like 300 people just come straight over. And that was a bit of an eye-opener that people were really struggling in this area. And so then I just made it my mission to help people. And from that I got introduced to things. I've got speaking gigs, and next thing you know I'm the mentor for blueprint programs around Australia and travelling internationally, and just a bit the same as my phone thing. It just took off, and just it was just to fill the right hole at the right time. Yeah, it's just lucky.
Yeah, and I know that you've been lucky enough to spend millions of other people's dollars working this out, haven't you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, my largest client alone spends $1 million a year. They spend about $100,000 a month, and just on Facebook ads. The beautiful thing, of course, is that they make 10 times what they put into it. So you'd spend like double that if you knew it was going to come out the other end.
So let's just repeat that for our listeners that may be driving along. They get a 10 times return on their Facebook ads investment.
Exactly, yeah. So if you put $1 in, you expect $10 out at by the end of the month.
And we've heard the same from a buddy of ours over in the US, Nick May, who's been on the show before. He does a lot of stuff with Facebook. I think he's spending upwards of, I can't remember the numbers, I think it was approaching $10,000 a month actually.
Yeah, I think so.
And getting a 12 times return on his investment. So they're not myths, they're not urban legends, and but there is a formula to it, isn't there, Phil?
Yeah, look, there absolutely is, and obviously every business is different. Some of my clients haven't made that sort of return either, so it's not necessarily a guarantee, but the ones who generally don't follow my advice as well. So I'm happy to give that formula. It's actually pretty simple.
Cool. So we'd love to hear your formula. For our tradie guys out there, this is really a tough area. So I guess we're looking at why these ads and what kind of steps should they follow.
Yeah. Well, the big thing to know at the moment is that Facebook's actually in a bit of a golden age at the moment. Once upon a time, you could advertise on Google for like 5 cents a click, and I know Gary Vaynerchuk talks about he had dominated his particular space in that world for like 9 months before everybody worked out how to do it. Facebook's kind of like that now too. It's really, really cheap at the moment to run it, but because it's an auction-based system, and the more people who do it, the more money's going to be in there, the higher the price is going to go up. So number one, now is the time. Don't wait till later to kind of jump on this stuff. But why Facebook ads? Basically, it's where everybody is. I think Australia alone has something like 15 or 17 million active users per month. Given we just hit 22 million people the other day, it's basically where everybody is. And I think the average time people spend on there is at least half an hour a day, which means some people are spending hours and hours. The other nature of it is that it's a beautiful little word of mouth tool, and I actually was one of the last of my friends to jump onto Facebook. I stayed well away from it. My role as an intelligence officer really scared the crap out of me about telling people about my intimate things, so I just used to live vicariously through my wife's account until until I worked out this word of mouth thing. And as soon as that sort of dawned on me that you didn't need... Remember the old days when people used to send an email saying, I've got a mate and he's got this business, and can you just share it to all your email contacts so you can get the word out?
Yeah.
Like, did you ever do it? No. And so it just didn't really work all that well, even though it was a great idea. But I always thought Facebook would be the same. Like, if I had my business and I wanted people on Facebook to share it, like, I didn't know that they actually really would. But then I worked out Facebook would do it anyway. We didn't actually have to rely on those people to do that thing. We could do exactly the same process. And we could lubricate that whole thing without having to rely on people. And that's that. I signed up that day.
So it really comes down to... because people still talk about, this whole Facebook thing. I honestly, I can't believe that there are people out there who are questioning it. Whether or not you like what social media has become, and in particular Facebook, that's not the point. We're in business. There's a tool that we can use, and it's one of the best bang for buck advertising tools out there, isn't it, mate?
Absolutely. And it'd be a bit like me saying, I don't like football, so I'm not going to advertise my product anywhere near a football stadium. It doesn't make sense. If that's where my clients are, you've got to be where they're hanging out.
Exactly.
So just you don't have to like it or even touch it necessarily. Just as long as your people are, that's the point.
Yep. And so that's, I guess, taking care of that first doubt or question that our listeners might have is, well, why would I use Facebook? I think we've pretty much answered that. Is because you have to. But
it's actually you actually should. It's not your entire strategy. It should actually be used in conjunction with other strategies as well. So, like in the old days, everyone was in the yellow pages, and the nature of that is that it's just not around anymore. So people are still looking for you. Where are they doing that? Google. So if you're not using Google to your main advantage, then you're also missing out there as well. But the beautiful thing is, if you marry the two together, your results just go crazy.
Yep.
Cool. So what's this sort of theory that you talk about that you feel will work?
Well, I imagine your listeners, their primary objective is to get quotes. I think that's the number one metric. If they're doing 10 quotes, then they'll get X amount of jobs. So if they've got no quotes, they'll get no jobs. So I think the big thing for them is to get people to call, come around and have a look. So why would they choose like you instead of somebody else? And I saw a really good article the other day that really kind of solidified it for me. It was a photographer who was based in New York, and he just put out a simple video, and the title of this thing was How to Look More Instantly Photogenic. And everybody wants to look cool, right? That's the whole point of Facebook. But everyone wants to look cool. So I clicked on it, and he just went through a series of processes of how, when you laugh, your head naturally goes back, which creates all these double chins, and if you take a photo of that, it just looks wrong. But if you point your chin towards the camera, your jawline straightens out and you just look way better. But because it's only two-dimensional, you can't see that your face is pointing a bit weird. And so it doesn't look wrong, but it looks better. And he took about 10 minutes to explain how to do that. And by the end of it, you really did kind of align with that purpose of what he was trying to get across. The thing that happened for me was that ever since I saw that article, every time anybody ever takes a photo, even on my 8-year-old's birthday party on the weekend, you just point the chin like a bit closer to the camera. You think about it, but the big point is that if this guy was local to me and I was going to get a portrait done, I would call him. I would go to him straight away. Number one, I speak his language a little bit, so I feel more confident and comfortable with him. And number two, I trust him. I like him. I actually think about that thing all the time. And so the secret formula that I mentioned before is simply that you just want people to like you, to get to know you and to trust you. So when the time comes, they'll call you. They'll think of you first, and they don't look up the yellow pages. They just call you. And so avoid that whole process in the first place, and you'll have it too. And even if they don't, even if they're not in the market for you right now, everybody knows everybody. So when they're at the barbecue party saying, I need something done, I can say, I know this great photographer, he does blah, 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 blah. Even though I've never used him, I still believe him and I trust him. And so that's the secret formula, is to align people with the fact that you're actually good at what you do.
So how does that then translate into I guess, serving up our ad to the people we want to see it. And maybe explain a little bit about how that works, Phil, so people get an understanding of why targeting is so powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is the quintessential thing that Facebook has. It knows everything about everybody, probably even if you don't use it. It still knows stuff about you. It's very powerful in that way. We've never had any technology like that in the history of all advertising of all time. So Facebook, number one, is really good at knowing things. And that can freak a lot of people out, big brotherish and all that sort of stuff. But a really clever business owner can really market themselves well using that sort of technology. So if you can get the right message in front of the right people, then that's the answer. But if you bugger up any of those steps, like if I had the best message but I sent it to the wrong people, I'm not going to make any sales. If I have the best people but the wrong message, I'm not going to get any sales. So you've really got to kind of get those two things right and put it out to the world. I'll give you an example, might be probably the better way to understand it. So I had a client who is a builder who specialises in doing slopey blocks. So they've got all the equipment to handle that sort of incline. And so can you imagine trying to put out an ad to people going, who's in the market for a slopey incline block to get built on? Like it's actually really difficult. So what we did was we created a whole bunch of articles just talking about the nature of that sort of stuff, like Queenslanders or types of buildings or just stuff like that. And the basic thing was that if people were clicking on those articles to read them, they were actually in the market for that sort of concept, like they were within that sort of space of potential client. Another really cool thing about Facebook, it has a piece of technology that we can put on a website that collects people who read it. Now, in the old days, we used to have to rely on people to input their email address in order for us to collect them and have a chat to them later on. But we don't need that anymore. It's still good to have, but we don't need it anymore. We can still collect people now without them doing anything other than just touching a website. So with this particular builder, who does the slopey block thing, so we put a whole bunch of articles, found which one works the best for attracting people, collect everybody who reads it, and then we can start saying stuff to them about why we specialise in sloping blocks and why it's important to have these particular things and those particular things. And after a while, the people kind of really got the hang of, that these guys do what they do. They're really good at it, and they started getting quotes coming out the door.
And so that is sort of a longer process. What did you say with that particular case that they started to see a return on what they were spending? Because I'm sure that wasn't instant, because we're always after instant gratification these days. But, someone's investing now in that kind of strategy and producing content. How long before they can just sort of see whether it's going to work for them?
Yeah, well, it is pretty quick. So one of the things that happens when doing that is that Facebook sends people to these articles and Google sees them coming. And so each time somebody comes there, it's like a little boat. And so that information goes up a tick in the Google world. And so when people are looking for particular things, these guys' articles or these guys' information was coming up first, above like some of even the bigger builders in the industry. And so anybody who was looking for them found them quicker. So straight away it started to have an impact on the nature of the calls. But the idea is that it's a buying cycle too. So people don't build houses instantly. So in terms of seeing a return on it, still takes a while in that sort of sense. But in terms of inquiries and in terms of getting the word out, it was within a day or two.
So once they've got this this content, these helpful articles, and then you're sending them to another ad for those people that read the article that then go on Facebook and then they see another ad for your business. At that point, is that something more about directly advertising your services, such as if we say it was a motor mechanic who you had a checklist of things to go on before you go on the Easter holidays, and then the retargeted ad, is it something more direct, like come in for a discount off the service, or what's that second ad going to be?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I call that a call to action. So you want them to actually do something, and it might be something simple as making a phone call or providing an email address or coming in for a 10% off a pre-holiday checkup or something like that. But yeah, you're trying to get them to do some type of action. And a really good one I like actually is a tripwire, something that's really cheap. It doesn't really cost you much time or effort or money to produce, but people kind of need, and anybody who gets that particular thing or wants that particular thing would also be your target market. And so they're a really great way of getting people to to jump in. Like if you're a plumber, for example, you could offer a free tap washer replacement or something that isn't that big a deal. But while you're there, they're like, can you have a check out my toilet and can you check out my leak in this thing and blah blah blah. So yeah, there's a myriad of things you can do, but just something simple in order to get them to either buy from you or give you their details.
So there's a few moving parts with all of this, Phil. Is it something that people, I guess, should tackle themselves, could tackle themselves? I know it's the $64,000 question for everybody is, when do I outsource? And I know there's a few tradies that I'm talking to that are, I suppose, dabbling with this or mucking around with it themselves. I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I taught myself from the beginning, so I catch clients now the way I used to catch criminals, so it's kind of the same sort of process for me. But obviously anyone could teach themselves, and that's obviously something they could do if they're so inclined. I can tell you that after spending millions of dollars on other people's accounts, there are a lot of tips and tricks that other people can do, like that. Having done this as their kind of full-time thing. There's ways you can get services. I have an outsourced service that I give to people who just want to hand it over and tell me what to do. And then I have other services where I just do the whole bloody lot for them. So it's there's always something out there for everyone. But can I tell you, Facebook changes all the time. So just when you get the hang of it, it'll definitely throw a spanner in the works and you have to start all over again. So it is a little difficult to get started on. But I would suggest getting help to start with. Is that the answer to your question?
Yeah. And I know you do have a great service, and you have built a team. Tell us a little bit more about that called AdChief, because I do think this would be quite useful for a lot of our listeners.
Yeah, I'm really proud of AdChief. Basically, I call it a concierge style service. If you can imagine walking into a hotel lobby, there's a guy standing at the bottom and you need something while you're on your holiday, just, where do I find a loaf of bread or something like that? The concierge will look after it for you. You give them a specific task and they'll go away and make it happen. So AdChief is really a lot like that. I need more likes, I need you to get more sales. There's all sorts of questions you could ask. So what I did was I created a team, and they're actually based in Nepal. A lot of people, when they do outsourcing, they go to the Philippines. I chose Nepal because these people really need help. They've had lots of earthquakes and civil unrest, and they're really struggling, but they're also beautiful people and they can't ask for help. So I've gone in there and I've set up my team with these guys, and I'm training them in how to speak English better and all sorts of stuff. But the idea is that these guys do all the grunt work, and they love it. It fills their day. And I've trained them up to be like as good as me. And so, if you can imagine, I can handle hundreds and hundreds of these sorts of requests now, where we just say this is what we need, and the team goes away and builds it. And it all costs about $200, the US dollars, because that's the currency they use over there for international trade. So for $200 US, I'll get my team to do unlimited ads for a month. Obviously, still have to pay Facebook their dollars, but the nature of it is that for $200 US, I think it's about $270. I think about Australian there. We'll take your business and create something of a cyber salesman for it.
And that's per month. So, if you think about employing somebody locally here in Australia to sit in your office and do all of that stuff, there's no way you would get away with it for that amount of money.
And nor will they probably have the knowledge in keeping up with it all, because it is changing and they're dealing with so many clients. They're going to be on top of these things. And really, for $270 a month, if you're spending hours each week trying to figure this out for yourself and not quoting or networking, then it's really a no-brainer.
It's 1 or 2 jobs a month for a tradie. If it frees a tradesperson up, well, 2 things. Frees them up to go out and do a couple of extra jobs a month, but also the advertising is probably going to attract an extra couple of jobs a month as well. I think there's a double edge to that one. So, it sounds like a great service, mate.
Yeah, I tried to make it cheap enough to make it worthwhile, but also make it business decision easy. The one thing I will say, though, is you've got to be ready for the traffic too. Like, I send sometimes thousands and thousands of people to a website a month, and sometimes that can be a bit much. So so if you need quotes, we can get them. But if you don't need quotes, then just we can tone it down as well. Yeah. So it can kind of go at any speed that you need.
Yeah, it's cool. It's like the old tap. You can turn it on and off as you need it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so what do you see some of the, I guess generally speaking, some of the biggest mistakes that you see people doing with their Facebook ads?
Generally selling straight away. It's social media. People aren't there to be sold to. So that's why I always talk about giving of yourself first, the old reciprocity thing. Just stop selling straight away. Like, buy my stuff. It's just people are getting a bit older and they'll tune out after a while. So it gets really expensive to just direct sell. So I would always recommend, think about the sort of stuff that you talk about at barbecues. When you're at your mate's 8-year-old birthday party, what are you talking about? And that's the stuff people actually want to know about. And it might seem really simple and obvious to you, but you do it all day, every day. So it has to be simple and obvious to you. But to everybody else, it could be an aha and the reason that they would choose you over somebody else.
So if someone's wanting to get started, what kind of budget should they be looking at when, they just want to start and have a go? What are your sort of guidelines there?
Yeah, it's an excellent question. I recommend about $150 to get started. Then we can do something of a test. And at the end of that test, we can work out how much it actually costs to do whatever it is your objective is. So if it's to get a quote, for example, with $150, we could find out that it costs, I'm picking figures out of the air here, $5 to get someone to call a quote. And from there on out, the budget is purely maths. How many quotes do you want? If it's $5 each and you want 10 more quotes, then that's another $50. So so it all, once you get the answers to the right questions, it's actually all falls together.
Cool. So, look, this all, I guess, lines up with marketing science, because a lot of people think marketing is this black art, but in reality, it's all about analysis and data. And I suppose your background, Phil, absolutely aligns with that. So it's kind of like catching bad guys with with intelligence data, mate. Except we're catching customers instead.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? It's the same process, just repeat, rinse and repeat.
Yeah, absolutely. So, mate, you've probably covered this in some ways, but our favourite question here at the Tradies Business Show is, of all of our guests, is, mate, if you had 1,000 tradies in the room, apart from getting them all to sign up to AdChief, what's one piece of advice you would give them?
In terms of increasing their business?
Well, I guess in your subject area, mate, if we're talking Facebook and Facebook campaigns, what's if you could boil it all down to one sage piece of advice?
Yeah, know what your why is. Your why you're doing what you do. Once you know that, and it's not to make money, right? That's a what. The why you get out of bed in the morning is the single biggest thing you can determine. Once you have that, everything falls into place from there. It's the thing that makes you stand out from the next guy. It's the thing that people can buy into, and it then gives us the content that we need to actually be able to get people to know who you are and market you well. Everything stems from why you do what you do.
Cool, great advice. So how can our listeners find out more about you if they're wanting to get some help?
Yeah, sure. Well, adchief.io, it's the website that we're talking about for that product. So they're more than welcome to check me out there. They can find me on LinkedIn or Facebook or anywhere of those sorts of social media channels, Phil McGregor. If they want more information, probably send me a message through there and we can help them out. I also have a Facebook group called PTAT. PTAT stands for People Talking About This. That's another place too where people can just join and sit around the water cooler. And if they've just got general questions or anything, there's myself and a whole bunch of other people who are there to provide help and support as well.
Cool, mate. Well, thanks again for coming on the show, Phil. I know there's a heck of a lot more to this than we've covered today, but, in terms of should people be using Facebook to advertise and promote their business, the days of radio and television are pretty much dead unless you've got massive budgets and you're trying to promote a big brand. So I think if you're not using Facebook, listeners, you need to have a serious think about it. Go check out Phil's sites, and as always, hit us here at the Tradies Business Show if you've got questions. So thanks, mate. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks so much for having me. And you're right about the cost. It's way cheaper there than anywhere else. But the big thing to remember out of all of this is that, where the traffic flows, that's where the business grows.
Awesome.
Love it.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the Tradies Business Show with Warwick Bidwell and Michaela Clark. Want to get off the tools and into true business ownership? Find out how at tradiesbusinessshow.com.